Now, how do you actually passively invest in real estate? I know all these people out there are teaching you could passively invest in real estate, but really they're just trying to sell you on some business to do like wholesaling or flipping properties, which is anything but passive. But is there a way to truly do it passively where you don't have to require all your time and energy into it and make money off of it? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today, right now. All right, we're going to dive right into some of the investments that I'm doing for myself as well as a lot of our clients are doing as well. But hang in until the end because I'm going to share my favorite strategy that's working in the current marketplace right now. All right, so first and foremost, let me just reiterate is that most of the stuff you hear online about real estate investing is anything but passive. Now, if you have to go and find a property, try to fix it up, flip it, and do all that kind of stuff, repair it, that's not passive at all. That's a business, right? And even when people talk about wholesaling, they're like, hey, you don't have to have a lot of money. You can wholesale using other people's money and yada, yada. Okay, that's great. But again, it's a business. You're working at least part-time, if not full-time hours, trying to make that strategy work. There's nothing wrong with that. But do not for one second believe that it's actually passive when it's actually a really active business where you can make good money. You can make literally millions of dollars like so many of my friends have done in this space. But remember, if you're actually looking for true passive investing, you need money. You need cash. It's not time and energy, it's cash. You have to have one or the other. If you don't have cash, it's going to be all time and energy. So if you don't have cash right now, just so you know, I don't want you to get disheartened at all. I don't want you to get discouraged because the truth is you can create passive income sometimes with as little as $1,000 in real estate backed investments. But don't believe that, you're going to get rich off that. If you're making a 10% return on $1,000, you made $100 in a year, that $1,100 is not going to compound to be amazing anytime in the near future, is it? So remember, cash is the key to making this passive. All right, so let me talk about some of my favorite investments. Number one, turnkey real estate. Now, turnkey real estate lately has not been as good, but it's still a very solid option. Now, turnkey rentals are not like your standard rentals. You go and you find some property, you go to your realtor and you're trying to search for properties and walk through all these properties to find that one property to rent out. And then, of course, you're managing the property, you're dealing with the tenants, the toilets, the trash, and you're dealing with all the headaches that go along with it. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm not that kind of person. I did that kind of real estate early on, but I realized I wasn't a good property manager. And let's be honest, I didn't want to have to keep working. I wanted to at least have a break. And so I found turnkey real estate, which you can find turnkey real estate companies all over the country. They'll help you find the property. They'll help you figure out if you need to get financing or not. They might even have mortgage options that you get through certain banks or special programs. And then they also will property manage the property for you or hook you up with a property manager in the area. So what happens is that now you do buy the property, you'll spend more time buying it than you will actually managing it because somebody else is doing that work for you and you're just there really just collecting the checks, right? After you pay the property management fee and the mortgage, if there's a mortgage payment, that's it. Now, of course, there could be repairs, there could be other stuff. So I kind of put this in the category of semi-passive because although it could be passive and you might have a great experience there, if you don't have a good property manager, it might end up feeling like an active property. Give you an example, I had one client recently, he said, I've got these properties in Ohio. By the way, this guy lives in California. He said, I got these properties in Ohio, and that property manager is amazing. She's on top of it. If there's a renewal coming up, she renews the lease. I don't have to do anything about it. If they have to, evict the tenant, they evict them and get somebody in really quickly. Like they are just on it all the time. If there has to be repairs, then she'll do the repairs. If it's significant, they'll even bill us for it for a little bit extra money. But we just pay from the account that we put all our profits in anyways. She's like, but man, she is just on it. And I said, those are the best property managers. Those are like not a dime a dozen. Those are a rare find. Sometimes they're even like a unicorn lately. I said, that's awesome. Now contrast with two properties I bought in Alabama. In Alabama, I guess just gotta tell you, like great people in Alabama, but man, when it comes to their government and their systems, they are like barely 20th century, okay? And so sometimes it can be a headache dealing with that kind of stuff if you're trying to deal with utilities or whatever it might be. Even though I usually have renters deal with that, if you ever have to take the property over, then you're dealing with it, right? I also had a property manager that wasn't doing their job. And as a result, we weren't making as much cash flow as we thought we were making. Now granted, when I turned around and sold it just less than 3 years later, we still made over 40% on our money. That's not a bad deal for a bad real estate deal in just 3 years. But it wasn't as favorable because we had to manage the property manager a little bit more closely, and that took a little bit more effort. Was it hours every week? No, it wasn't. The truth is, for 2 years, we didn't do anything. We didn't manage them at all, and that was part of the problem. We didn't watch it enough. And so as we had to come back to it, we might spend hours after the fact, but still, in comparison to working a job, it's a piece of cake. And so just understand that turnkey rentals can be passive, but I put them in more semi-passive category. Now another category are syndications. Many people will say, hey, I don't have enough cash to be able to put it as a huge down payment on an apartment building or self-storage units or even a business, things like that. No, you don't have to. You can pool your money with other investors and have a share in it. You can have part ownership. So maybe you put 1%, maybe they're raising $5 million, you put in $50,000, right? And then you get 1% of all the gains. You know, the cash flow, the profits, as well as the gains if you decide to sell it down the road. And that's something that's kind of nice. You have something you have ownership in, but you're not the one that has to be full owner or put so much money in that you go bankrupt just trying to put that much money into one deal. And so you can have ownership in properties. That's called a syndication. Now, I have syndications I've done in apartment buildings, self-storage from time to time. I've even had things like oil and gas, mineral rights where we buy the land and then they drill on it and then everything they pull out, you get paid royalties on it. Even things like car wash businesses you can do as a syndication where you're again going as a partner and you're getting paid the returns. Now the returns can vary just depending. Sometimes it can be great. Sometimes you get paid steady cash flow. Other times it might be more payout towards the end of the deal when they decide to sell out of it. I will give you a warning. If you're doing a syndication, don't just trust that something's going to pay you big money at the end. I like the ones that actually pay me cash flow now and later. In fact, I'll take a smaller cut down the road to get more cash today. Very similar to a bank. A bank would rather have you put a larger down payment now versus paying you at the end, right? Same thing with me too as an investor. So just know syndications could be a great option. Okay, the third one you could do is like a partnership, right? This is where you can actually go into a deal very specifically. Now this could be like you could go into a partnership where you're maybe helping somebody do a fix and flip. You might be lending them the money. You might just be splitting the profits depending if you do it as an equity or a debt position, right? You can go in with a partner on a specific deal. This could be an apartment building if you have a lot of cash. It could be something like that. It could also be a partnership where maybe it's a business of some sort. This could also be like, for example, I mentioned like in other videos, talk about my raw land partnership. I have a partnership where I go into raw land. Now, I finance the entire thing. It's all my money. They don't put any money in, but they put their time and labor into it and their expertise. They do all the work. I also get paid as well by being the passive investor by financing it. We split the profits. And actually, I get 70%, they get 30%. That's a great deal for me because I love my money working harder, especially because over $400,000 is now turned into over $11,000 a month. Just so you know, results may vary. It may not be typical for you, might be more or less. No guarantees. You can always lose money in real estate, yada, yada. All the disclaimers you have to put out there, right? Yes, but that's what my situation's been. I love it. And that's only been 2.5 years. I'm not even 3 years into it at this point. And I'm seeing that money grow. And that's the cool thing for you, right? Is that you can get into a partnership as well where you start to leverage their talents, their abilities. Maybe they're the real estate investor, but you're the one that says, I'll finance it. I'll back you because I believe in you. And you have to put a lot of trust in that person or that company if you do that. Be very careful, but be aware that that partnership could also create great returns. And it doesn't have to be just real estate backed. It could be an actual business partnership. You could be buying into a business. You could buy into a franchise for that matter. Now, a franchise, you might be involved to some level, but if they already have employees in place and managers in place, you could literally buy into that business. And just so you know, if you want to be more passive, expect to spend at least $250,000 for a passive investment in a franchise. But you could be putting that money in and then still be much more hands-off. You might manage it a little bit in the sense you oversee it, not necessarily the one in the day-to-day operations. And then the fourth one, I promised you, would be my favorite, right? And this one right now, this is my favorite right now because of the current market conditions. We know that interest rates have gone up. I mentioned with turnkey rentals, they can pay good cash flow, but at the same time, right now, because interest rates are higher, rentals aren't always paying the best cash. So right now, what I've seen the best opportunity has been in lending money to other investors. Because here's the problem. In 2022, everybody was saying cash is trash, invest everything. When I started hearing that, I've learned in investing, do the opposite of what everybody's saying. If the masses say one thing, do the opposite. So I did the opposite. I said, you know what? I'm going to hold on to more cash. Because I bet you there's going to be a point where people will be begging for cash. That point is now. So I can go in and say, all right, I'll lend you money. So for example, I had a friend come to me. He said, listen, I've got an apartment deal that we're almost got sold, but it's going to take another 3 months. I need a little extra working capital to keep this thing afloat. I said, no problem. I'll pay you $50,000. You pay me 15% a year interest. And he did. Got paid back 3 months later when he sold off the property. I got my $50,000 back plus another $2,000 of interest. That's a great deal for me, right? I love that. There's another situation where, there's type of houses you can go into, right? And so like this one in particular, this guy was a friend of mine in Maryland. He was raising about $200,000 for a house, but the house was worth $300,000. So there's already a lot of equity in that property. He needed $200,000. He was going to pay about 11% a year on that money. And it was only going to be for about 6 or 8 months. And I know this guy very well. This guy is like, he will make it work no matter what. He will work 24/7 if he has to make sure that deal, and he could pay his investors back. So I have that kind of trust with him. Well, he did that, and he even paid it back in 5 months instead of 6 to 8 months, and still paid the 11% per year, and we knew that we had a good property that had equity. Because here's the worst case scenario. Even if he couldn't do that, we could still sell the property. Even if he sold it for $250,000, that still covered the $200,000 that he would owe. So that's the kind of stuff that you can do where you can actually make good money by you becoming the bank. And right now, because banks are doing it at such a high interest rate, it's not hard for you to get 10, 12, 15% a year from hard money loans for people that are looking for good money. They're looking for good cash. By the way, I just had a friend reach out to me recently. He said, listen, normally I pay 12% on my money, but right now I have an amazing deal where I need to raise $1 million quickly, and I will pay 18% a year on that money. Needless to say, I wasn't just emailing myself because I was like, whoa, that's kind of something I would consider. But I was emailing my clients saying, hey, anybody who wants to do this, you want to jump in now. And so some of our clients took advantage of that, getting paid 18% a year. That's 1.5% a month on their money because he knew he was going to make a killing on that real estate deal. So again, results may vary. There's no guarantees. But right now, lending can be a great way to do it. And just so you know, people that have a debt position get paid before people that actually have ownership position. Because remember, just like when you have a mortgage, who gets paid back first when you sell a house? The bank does. The mortgage gets paid back first. And then if there's anything left over, you as the owner get paid back second. So right now, lending is one of those safer places, I think, even though it's not guaranteed, definitely safer if you do it the right way. All right, if you want to learn how to invest more passively in real estate, go to moneyripples.com. There's actually a section right there about passive investing. Click on that right now to find out what's possible for you in your situation.